guys, welcome to the video. If you're new here, my name's Curtis, and today it's simple. I'm gonna give you some of my top fragrance recommendations from some of my favorite fragrance houses. So if you're curious to see the fragrances that I've chosen, then let's go. First up, from the house of Jeroboam, we have Ambre. So this one is a complex and very sensual amber fragrance. It's quite deep, rich, and just absolutely gorgeous. I really love this one from the house, and it's probably one of the best amber fragrances that I have in my collection. And what I really love about the house of Jeroboam, and if you're not familiar with Jeroboam, Jeroboam is the sister company of Javoy, so they kind of sit in the shadows of Javoy. But man, they're just a very underrated house, and I hope that more people dive into Jeroboam because they offer some amazing fragrances. Yeah, so Jeroboam makes 30 ml extrait de parfum concentrations for their entire line. But yeah, these fragrances are just amazing performers, and yeah, you should definitely check them out. But this one is just very warm, a bit spicy, resinous, balsamic, and very vanillic, and all those notes just come together for just an intoxicating amber fragrance that I absolutely enjoy. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Ambre by Jeroboam. And next up, again from the house of Jeroboam, we have Insulo. Man, so this one is a very rich, deep, and heavy vanilla fragrance. So if you're someone who doesn't really care for gourmand fragrances or edible vanilla fragrances, this one is delicious. You probably should stay away from this one because this one pushes into that gourmand territory quite heavily. And this is an edible vanilla. You smell this and you're just like, wow, I want to eat that. But basically what you get here is just a very heavy blast of vanilla, and that lasts from beginning to end. This is a very dominant vanilla fragrance, but when you start to move into the dry down, you get a bit of muskiness that starts to push through, but I really love the balance of it. And yeah, this is a great one. One thing that I will say is be careful if you're spraying this on clothes, as the juice is kind of red, so it will stain your clothes. So yeah, just something to take note of. But yeah, this is a great one. I really enjoy it, and I think, as you guys know, if you've been watching my channel for any amount of time, you'll know I'm not a huge fan of gourmand fragrances, but I am starting to get my toes a bit wet and really starting to develop an interest in gourmands. But I would say if the fragrance pushes very heavily into gourmand territory, I'm still kind of, not quite accustomed to that style yet. But every now and then, I like to kind of switch things up, and if I'm looking for a sweeter fragrance, this is the type of fragrance that I'm reaching for. Yeah, I really like this. And again, just like Ambre, this is a 30 ml extrait de parfum. You don't need a whole lot of sprays with this one, as this performs really well. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Insulo by Jeroboam. Next up, from the house of Nishane, we have B612. Yeah, so this is Nishane's take on a modern fougere. And as you guys can see, and as you know, I love fougères, so you can see the dent that I put in this fragrance. This is just very smooth, slightly creamy. You get a heavy blast of cashmere in here, which I guess can be a bit polarizing to some people, especially if you overspray this fragrance. I think less is more with this one for sure. But with this, you do have those typical fougere notes like lavender and oak moss in here. But yeah, this one is just very smooth. And like I said, there's a slight creaminess to this, and you can definitely pick up on a bit of earthiness as well. But it is a beautiful fragrance, and definitely I think it's an underrated one from the house of Nishane. And I think, as you guys know, Nishane just produces bangers. Not only in terms of their scent profile, but also in terms of the performance. And yeah, this one's no slouch. It performs amazingly well, and like I said before, less is more with this one if you want the best experience, just in my humble opinion. Feel free to spray as much as you like, but for me, I usually do about 3 to 4 sprays with this one, and it works a treat. So if you can, get yourself a sample of B612 by Nishane. Next up, again from the house of Nishane, we have Sultan Vetiver. So as you guys know, I love the note of Vetiver, and yeah, this one is no slouch. What I really love about this one too is it takes you on a journey through all the facets of vetiver. There are 4 types of vetiver used in here. So this is a slap of vetiver to the face for sure. So if your nose is not accustomed to the note of vetiver, I would say probably stay away from this one until you get a bit more used to the scent profile. But yeah, this one, I love it. This is very kind of damp, earthy, slightly fresh, but gorgeous. You also get a bit of leather in here when you move into the dry down that starts to push forward. It's not dominant leather by any means, but it's definitely there and you can pick up on it slightly. You also get a bit of neroli in here, which is giving you probably a bit of that soapy kind of fresh cleanliness that I kind of pick up on my skin. But yeah, this is great. A beautiful, almost borderline masterpiece vetiver fragrance in my humble opinion. I really love wearing this one. I typically wear this one in the fall, winter, and spring. I kind of stay away from it in the summertime because we have very humid summers here in Japan. But if you live in a different climate, you know, if you don't have very humid summers, you could definitely probably pull this one off in the summer as well. But yeah, I really love this one from beginning to end. It's probably my all-time favorite vetiver fragrance. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Sultan Vetiver by Nishane. Next up, from the house of Lorenzo Pazzaglia, we have Summer Hammer. So yeah, what I'll say about Summer Hammer is this is a transportive fragrance. This is vacation vibes in a bottle. This works perfect for me in the climate that I live in the summer evenings when the temperatures have slightly started to cool down and the humidity has dropped as well. I love wearing this one in the summer evenings. Now, if you live in a different climate, you could easily pull this one off, you know, during the daytime in the summer, but in the humid temperatures, this fragrance does have a bit of creaminess here. So in those humid temperatures, it kind of, it's a bit too much, but in the evenings, this one is perfect for me. This one is just fruity, juicy, thick, creamy, slightly boozy, and a bit sweet, but man, it is blended so well. I love this one. It has a bit of coconut in it, but sometimes coconut can kind of give off like a lactonic vibe. This one doesn't really give off a lactonic vibe at all, which is great because I'm not a huge fan of those types of fragrances. So yeah, this one works a treat for me. But like I said before, the coconut and the sandalwood give this fragrance some creaminess, and that creaminess lasts throughout the life of the fragrance. But yeah, this one just smells very unique and it is a compliment getter. If compliments are what you're after, this is a fragrance for that. People just seem to really enjoy this fragrance, as do I. It's intoxicating and it just makes you want to always kind of spray it on and wear it because it really is that good. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Summer Hammer by Lorenzo Pazzaglia. Next up, again from the house of Lorenzo Pazzaglia, we have Vampire Rhum. So this one is sexy rum, vanilla, and patchouli in a bottle, and that's basically it. The vanilla in here is sweet, but it's not sickeningly sweet, and that booziness from the rum just is blended so well with the vanilla that it's intoxicating. I love this one. You can definitely pick up on the earthiness from that patchouli, which kind of helps to, you know, give it a bit of a masculine tone. I would say this fragrance is unisex right down the middle, so that patchouli definitely helps to push this fragrance more towards the masculine, I guess, center of unisex. And there's also a bit of oud in here, which gives it, I guess, kind of like a mysterious, kind of alluring, dark vibe. I enjoy this one, and I'm excited to rock this one in the fall and winter time. This one will work a treat. Definitely a banger from the house. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Vampire Rhum by Lorenzo Pazzaglia. Next up, from the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian, we have Gentle Fluidity Silver. Man, so this is a banger from the brand. I really enjoy this one. So basically, you're getting some fresh metallic juniper berry in here, and that juniper berry is helping to give this fragrance kind of a gin and tonic like vibe, but it just comes off very refreshing. You also get a bit of amber and vanilla, very subtly, that starts to push forward, but it helps to give this fragrance an underlying sweetness definitely remaining fresh and clean throughout the life of the fragrance. That vanilla and amber just help to give this fragrance a bit more depth and character that I absolutely love. Performance on this is amazing, especially for a fresh fragrance. So, just keep that in mind. I typically do 3 or 4 sprays with this one, and that works a treat. If I'm gonna be in the office setting and I'm wearing this one, I tone those sprays down to 2 because this one does push out quite heavily. It's a room filler for sure. But yeah, this is definitely one of my favorites from the brand. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Gentle Fluidity Silver by Maison Francis Kurkdjian. And again, from the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian, we have Grand Soir. Man, I love this fragrance, and this fragrance is up there with Jeroboam Amber as being one of my favorite amber fragrances. This one is a vanillic amber bomb. Upon initial spray, you definitely get some vanilla that's pushing through, and then when you start to move into the mid, you get a deep, rich amber, and when you move into the dry down, you get more of kind of a dusty, vanillic tone. But man, this one is gorgeous from beginning to end, and it's a stunner. This one you could consider a masterpiece in my humble opinion. This is a 10 out of 10. Easily a 10 out of 10. And this is an amber fragrance that I like to wear a bit more dressed up in the evening time if I'm going out or if I'm going on a date. And people tend to really, really enjoy this one. This one is also a compliment getter. Yeah, it's just a banger from the brand. And I think if you're it's a unisex fragrance for sure, but if you're someone who's exploring the house of MFK, this is definitely one to start with for sure. And depending on the climate that you live in, this could be a 4-season fragrance. For me, it's a little difficult to pull this one off in the summers in Japan here because it's so humid. But if you live in a climate that doesn't get so humid, or hot, you can easily pull this one off. And I also kind of think like this one really starts to come alive when it's given a bit of heat. It just projects extremely nicely and it leaves a nice sillage that's just intoxicating. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Grand Soir by Maison Francis Kurkdjian. All right, guys, so that's all I have for you for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's content, and let me know down in the comments section, do you know any of the fragrances that I've showed you today? What are your thoughts and opinions? Well, I hope you guys are staying healthy and well, and I'll see you in the next video.